Greetings, children of the night. It is time for another episode of the Horror Appraisal.
That's right, guys.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Evan. Sorry. As you know.
Today, we're going to talk about another horror list for 1982.
Right. We've already done 1980 and 81.
Here's top 5 for 1982.
Yeah.
We have been doing the year by year for 1980, top 5 for each year, and we're going to go by decade, and this is the third year that we've been able to muster, and it was a challenge.
It was, and mainly because 1982 is a freaking it's fantastic. It's a fantastic year for horror. So many great films came out in this year. This is the year I was born, actually. So it's an important year for me because it's got so many great films. I don't even know what else to say. It's just a monumental year in horror movie making, I think.
It's a very good mix of things. You've got paranormal, you've got slasher, you've got zombie, you've got undead, you've got...
Very true, very true.
I mean, you don't just have a bunch of slashers. 1981 was the year of the slasher.
Yeah.
And there was like 500 movies that were worth mentioning.
But 1982, I think, mixes it up a little bit with, a taste of the bizarre and
there's some really outlandish things that happened in 1982.
Yeah. Some directors' greatest movies were made in 1982.
Speaking of outlandish.
Mm-hmm. Oh, speaking of outlandish. You said outlandish, and I immediately thought of Children of the Corn.
Oh, Outlander.
Mm-hmm. Nah. Sorry. Anyway, want to start the list off with an honorable mention for 1982.
It was very close to making it.
It was very close to making the list because it's a very cult movie, and it's definitely gained a lot of steam. This movie was made for almost next to nothing. It's a personal favorite of mine. It's a little silly, a little cheesy. It's supposed to be a little shocking. It is Basket Case, directed by Frank Henenlotter.
This thing came out on Blu-ray, and I honestly was really hoping for it to kind of change the way it was like. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess I was hoping for a miracle, but like it actually, the sound mix, if you're not careful, there's one part that can actually ruin your speakers and your sound system.
While the movie is incredibly entertaining, the sound mix is horrible. I mean, it just is. It's just awful.
I mean, it's just how it was done. You can't undo that.
But if you guys haven't seen Basket Case, it's about a guy who carries his twin brother.
He's kind of a Siamese twin, I guess.
They were Siamese twins. They were separated. I like how the name
you're supposed to say conjoined now. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway. Do you remember the name of the conjoined twin? Like, do you remember the name of the guy in the basket?
I don't.
His name is Belial.
Belial, that's
he's
right.
He's
that's
named
a cool
after
name.
a demon.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool name.
I mean, who gives him that name? But so basically, the whole thing is kind of a revenge story about getting revenge on the people who separated them when they were children. It uses some claymation at times.
There's a fantastic Treehouse of Horror episode that plays on the Basket Case with I'm Good Bart. Like there's.
I wondered how long it would take us to bring Treehouse of Horror Simpsons into one of these reviews. Oh my gosh, review idea.
Okay. But there's some good kills in Basket Case, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you get this monster that just kind of it flies up out of it.
Yeah, I mean it's a movie.
Oh my god, it doesn't have legs, but somehow it has
it has upper body strength.
It's very strong.
Yeah, but anyway, please check out Basket Case. It's a fun movie. You'll have a good time if you watch it with some friends.
All right, here we go in the main part of the list. Mm-hmm. Number 5, a French film from Jean Rollin. Or Jean Rollin. Living Dead Girl.
Yeah. It's
a really unique film. I picked this up on Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
I had seen it on Netflix, and I think we watched it on Netflix before I got it on Blu-ray, correct?
I don't think so. I think the first time I saw it was when you had it on Blu-ray.
I may have watched it on Netflix and then bought it on Amazon.
So at least the picture quality wasn't horrible.
Well, it was... right as soon as this movie starts, you've got this girl that gets infected, or she gets resurrected from death by an earthquake that kind of lets loose some toxic waste.
Yeah.
And she wakes up with this thirst for blood. and she's really hot but creepy.
It's an uncomfortable. She's uncomfortably hot.
Very strange, yes. It's kind of like thinking a zombie. She's not rotten like a zombie. She's not a.
Thank God.
She's like a vampire zombie in her.
Yeah, she has just this lust for human blood, but
there's some things that really stand out about this film. These grave robbers that are they're the ones that get first encounter her wrath. One guy gets a toxic waste thing in the face, but she gets this other guy with her fingers in his eyes, and it's this terrible thing.
They're kind of like her weapons of choice. She's grown. It's like she's got these talons now, and
well, they talk. How they talk about your nails continuing growing after you're dead.
Yeah,
even if she would be I
don't remember if that's true or not, but
well, they do keep growing. I mean,
I don't know. Whatever, but. I love the whole dynamic of this movie because imagine because she
has this best friend.
She has this best friend that she ends up going back to her house, and imagine what it would be like to know that your best friend was dead, but now somehow they've come back and now they're living in your big. It's like this huge mansion.
She's an heiress. The girl that's dead was an heiress.
Oh, that's
and now they're kind of her friend is actually kind of charged with selling the house. Correct?
I think so.
And I mean, this girl brings victims to her friend, pretty much.
Yeah,
she essentially.
That we actually did.
It's kind of like a frank relationship with Hellraiser.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We actually talked about that when we watched the movie. This offering to appease this monstrous thing that you have in your house.
There are some awesome kills, and I will show a couple of kills from this movie in the clips, obviously. But the ending is something that you guys have got to check out for yourself.
It definitely is
effective.
Movie. It's
really effective.
Living Dead Girl is definitely a movie that after I watched it, I thought about it for a little while.
It's got subtitles. You have to watch subtitles.
Oh yeah, Jesus French.
But you really don't notice subtitles after a while because the acting is good, I think. There's lots of nudity.
I think there's lots of nudity in this movie. This movie's a
complete nudity.
Boner fest.
If you know Jean Rollin at all, you know that guy has a lot of nudity.
Yeah.
In things that he's involved in.
But number 4.
Number 4 is one of those awesome things.
Number 4 is I feel is kind of an obvious one that had to be on this list. The franchise already had 2 installments, and part 3 really gave it a lot more depth and life and volume, like you're saying.
It made this thing a franchise.
And of course, we're talking about Friday the 13th, Part 3, 3D. Yeah, it was one of those. They kind of brought 3D, I think, back for this movie a little bit.
Parasite was 80. Parasite was this year too. It was 3D.
Friday the 13th, Part 3, 3D. It's of course has some shameless moments. I think there's a part where someone with a broom or a bat is doing something. It's like
the snake on the wire.
Yeah. It's not.
But bottom line, this is where Jason really gets his look. He gets his mask.
Yeah.
He steals it from that horrible kid that's always playing pranks on people that nobody likes.
Yeah, this first time you see the hockey mask, of course. So it's an historical movie moment.
Richard Brooker was actually a really good Jason, and we had the pleasure of meeting him at Scarefest.
He was the guy to wear the mask for the first time.
Unfortunately, he passed away last year.
He's not with us anymore.
He's the only Jason that's not around anymore.
Yeah, we've met a lot of the Jasons, and we won't meet him again, but it was really cool to actually get to meet him. He seemed like pretty cool guy.
We've met all the original Jasons except one. But actually, except one, Part 6.
I thought we met him.
No. We met
that's right.
Met Ted White, Tom Morga.
Yeah. But we're rambling. But Friday the 13th, Part 3, 3D. Cool movie. I mean,
there's not much to say about it because you all probably know about it.
It's got good kills in it too.
And if you for some reason haven't seen it, watch it.
Yeah.
Watch it. There's really you all understand.
My favorite character is Shelley.
Well, I like the guy that's walking on it, doing a handstand thing out of the shower. Why would you do that? I don't know. He's trying to bring beer back, but he gets hacked in the crotch.
My favorite character is not Shelley. He's a douche.
He's a douche and a half. All right. Number 3. This top 3 was so hard.
It was. We kind of bickered over it a little bit.
Number 3, a lot of us argue this is number 1. Poltergeist.
Poltergeist, directed by Tobe Hooper.
Produced by Steven Spielberg.
Produced by Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg, of course, gets a lot of credit for this movie that I think really kind of belongs to Tobe Hooper.
I think what this movie really does show, though, is what Tobe Hooper can do with an actual budget.
Yeah, well, I think we've said that in another...
Life Force we mentioned.
Did we? Yeah.
But, and Life Force didn't have the budget of Poltergeist. No way.
Yeah, but, great directing, great pacing.
Great cast.
Really.
I mean, it's like the perfect cast for a horror movie. There's enough big names and there's enough just talent there to really make the movie such a beautiful film.
Plus, it's I think it's really it's of course a supernatural film that really
It still creeps me out a little bit.
Of course,
It does.
but like so many supernatural films really find, especially then, kind of found a hard time getting into the real mainstream blockbusters, and Poltergeist really succeeded at that.
Yeah, I mean, you get that big name, but it's also an excellent story. It deserves to be
that's
there.
What I'm saying. Great visual effects. I mean, at its heart, it's a story about a family who's had one of their members ripped away from them, and they'll stop at nothing to get her back. And it's beautiful in a way. It's a beautiful story. It's a story about love and how that can conquer.
Real tightness in the family.
I'm not trying to get cheesy.
I mean, and the dynamic with Craig T. Nelson as a father in this, he really bonds with his kids, and like Carol Ann is pretty much the poster child for this movie, and she's kind of she's kind of the star.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. No.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, I hope people know what we're talking about. But next. Now, number 2, really, me and him, we didn't fight, but we each fought.
We have our beliefs about who should be number 1, who should be number 2.
Yeah. Number 2, what we've decided to do is take a great movie and put it as number 2. It's the best remake ever made. The visual effects are stunning. The cast is stunning. It's a movie that holds up to this day. I'm talking about John Carpenter's The Thing.
You have a hard time finding more frightening films. What more frightening than being in a group of people abandoned in the Arctic, not knowing whether or not you're looking at an alien or your friend.
I mean, the feeling of isolation,
horrifying,
just
film.
Completely cut off from like civilization. And
there's no way these people could have thought that they had a way out.
No, it's
not realistically.
It's 100 degrees below. I mean,
nothing works.
Yeah, I mean, Wilford Brimley's in it. I would have stuck with Wilford Brimley.
What do you mean you would have stuck with him?
I don't know. He's a cool guy. I'd have stuck by his side.
He was a doctor.
Like, Wilford Brimley was like, I bet that guy's an alien. I'd be like, you're right, Wilford Brimley.
He was.
I know. And then I'd have been dead.
But I mean, you really think about like the classic scene. You got this head and they got the fire, and the head comes off the table. It's like, ah! And it's coming off the table and getting away from the fire.
I love that. You know what? Like, my favorite scene is where the guy's like, is he like operating on the guy? And the chest cavity opens up, and you see teeth, and it like clamps down on the guy's arms. And he's like, ah! And he's got like no arms.
Yeah.
That's like that's so gruesome.
The movie is so violent.
That's like my favorite part of that.
I remember I had the opportunity to watch The Thing when I was little. My mom said, "Okay, we can try this," and then the dog started turning inside out, and she made me turn it off.
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh no!"
Till you just said it, I'd actually kind of forgotten about that. that was pretty gruesome.
It's not animal cruelty. It's not an actual dog.
Yeah,
but it is.
Well, that's the whole point, though. Too, like, this movie's so well made with the animatronics it uses, with the practical effects it uses.
John Carpenter, man, that's all you gotta say.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful film, and it's just shot in a way that is not.
Kurt Russell got to make a couple other John Carpenter films.
Well, I mean, I'd say this is one of Kurt Russell's best roles. I mean, he's done a lot of good things, but I mean, he really sells it in this.
Yeah, I agree.
And number 1, because of its cult status, because of its provocative nature, because of its nostalgic, it elicits a nostalgic response.
People from all parts of horrordom came together and congealed and made this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful movie. This is
number one.
This is sometimes my favorite horror movie of all time. Number one for 1982,
Creepshow.
Directed by George Romero, written by Stephen King.
So that's a powerhouse.
That's a tour de force, man.
Yeah, I mean, you've got some pretty cool stories, and the very first horror actor we ever met was in this.
John Amplas. Yeah, I forgot about that. John Amplas played.
We have yet to mention him, and that's kind of a shame. I mean,
that is a shame. Martin, you know what? Go watch George Romero's Martin, starring John Amplas. Great film. You'll love it.
But John Amplas is the I want cake. He's the cake zombie.
He's Uncle Nathan, or maybe his grandpa. No,
I want my cake.
Yeah, he was credited as like Dead Nate. But yeah, we met him.
But our first year at Scarefest, we met a lot of people. We met George Romero, met Adrian Barbeau, met Tom Atkins, met John Amplas.
We've met so many people from Creepshow. It was our first Scarefest too, and where Creepshow is such a great movie for me and so important to me. I was in heaven meeting these people. Meeting Adrian Barbeau, like getting her to sign stuff, just tell it to call you Billy.
Yeah.
Like, I love Creepshow, man, because of how it's stylized. I'm a huge comic book fan. More than that, I'm a huge horror comic book fan. More than that, I'm a huge horror comic book fan from like the stuff before the Comics Code Authority, like in the 50s. That's fine. But, and that's what this movie stylized, is like after those old like Warren Publishing and like EC Comics. That's what this movie pays tribute to. When you were a kid and you opened up one of those comic books, it was like a treasure trove of stuff. You weren't left with just like one story. You had things to pick from. You could like read your favorite story in one. You could skip from one, go the other, and go back and forth. These were like the best comic books ever.
That translates to the movie. There's color.
Absolutely.
Color.
And
everywhere.
that's how and they do it that way on purpose. It's such a beautiful tribute to a great medium for horror that really isn't as popular anymore. Of course, it lost a lot of popularity after the Comics Code Authority took over and said, you can't put that shit in comic books.
Well, they kind of undid that, though. I mean,
they have things now. I don't think anything has to follow that anymore.
There's the thing about Creepshow. It's, for me, this is why I had a hard time putting it number one. It's not completely the total package for me, as the thing is, because of the story. The guy, the germaphobe. I think that story kind of...
E.G. Marshall.
I think that story kind of brings it down a little bit.
Plays Mr. Pratt.
Yeah.
And I don't know, why does that kind of kick you on the butt a little bit?
It's just...
You think it's just silly?
It's just kind of...
It's about a horrible man.
It's not up to the standards of the rest of the film.
It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite story in Creepshow, but it's a story. That's the thing about these stories. It usually features that in horror comics, which Creepshow pays tribute to. In horror comics, I argue that they're more moral than a lot of stuff, because you know what? The guy who's the piece of crap, who's the bad guy, he always meets justice, and that's even like that in the horror comics, because like E.G. Marshall, Mr. Pratt, he's a horrible human being.
I get it, but it's just kind of a departure from the rest of the film.
And he always gets his comeuppance, just like Leslie Nielsen in the story that he does.
Ted Danson, yeah.
Yeah, Ted Danson.
But that's
the great things about horror movies. The great thing about horror movies, in a way. Sometimes people get exactly what they deserve, and justice is met, and life is fair. Sometimes
people go on killing and killing. Mm-hmm. And resurrecting and killing.
Well, that's different. That's a different type of horror movie. but like in Creepshow, justice is met.
What did Stephen King's character deserve? What he got?
He didn't. In the I think it's called The Sad Tale of Jordy Verrill.
Oh, poor guy.
He's just an idiot.
And he's a likable character.
Meteor shit.
Yeah.
But he's not likable. He's a total bumpkin. I hate him.
Really?
He's just an idiot, but he's supposed to be.
I don't have any animosity towards this guy. I kind of feel bad for him.
I feel bad for him too.
He thinks he's got some money here.
Mother, she didn't raise no idiots.
Yeah.
But
anyway, I mean, we're not going to do the big list. There's a lot of things for you to check out in 1982, and here's what we're going to suggest. When you need, this is purely what this site is for. 80shorrormovies.com. just gives you the lists of movies per year, and even for people, once you've seen thousands of horror movies, it's tough to keep up with what you've seen for the years. So if you go to 80shorrormovies.com, you can by year see what horror movies were there, and it doesn't have all of them, but it's a pretty good way to start your thinking. And if you ever need like a year by year thing, that's kind of a way to see what movies were out that year.
Yeah.
It's just like the bare bones. It shows what movies were there, and that's it. No reviews.
Yeah, so if you go to it and you use it and you just see the name of a movie, it's like, I'll check that out. It's really a cool resource.
And the people that run that don't know we're putting this shout out there, but there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, to review what we've done, at honorable mention we had Basket Case.
Number 5, Living Dead Girl.
Number 4, Friday the 13th Part 3, 3D.
Number 3, Poltergeist.
Number 2, The Thing.
And number 1 with a bullet,
Creep Show. I'm Sam.
I'm Evan.
This has been another episode of The Horror Appraisal.
Thanks you guys so much for watching these videos. We love doing it, and we love doing it for you. Please subscribe.
Thumbs up.
Please keep watching. And if you have any ideas,
comment.
Throw them our way. Comment. Good night, guys.
Peace.
See ya.
That's why God made fathers, babe. That's why God made fathers.
Have you seen that Alton Brown has a YouTube channel? Alton Brown has a YouTube channel because he's teaching you how to make all this shit, and he teaches you how to saber a champagne bottle.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. I love that guy.
Hey, girl.